All right, students. So you are going to have a test on Wednesday on addition, subtraction, multiplication, division of inequalities. So I'm going to actually do the homework for you. But remember, the reason that I do this is for you to actually learn how to do it. So I suggest you try to do them first. Pause and then check your work with me. And then you'll catch your mistake, and that's the way you'll learn. The purpose is not for me to just do it for you and you show me that you completed it, because that's not going to help you at all. Okay, so in something like that, when you see an equal sign, basically you just want to isolate the x. You want to know what x is going to equal. Okay, now with addition and subtraction is very simple. The opposite of subtraction is addition, and that's how you get rid of this. So as I've said this a million times, your goal here is to isolate the x. Okay, so in order for you to isolate the x, we want to make sure that this becomes 0. And the way that we do this one, if it's a -2, in order for that to be 0, we're going to add 2. So -2 plus 2 is 0. Whatever you do to the left, you do to the right. So plus 2. And I'm just going to go and do these very quickly, okay? So this is going to equal x equals -6. Because remember, -8 plus 2, you're taking the difference, and the answer is going to be -6. If you haven't mastered that by now, you really have to, because you're going to be lost forever if by now you haven't mastered that. So here, in order to get rid of the -4, so you can leave b by himself, we're going to add 4, and your answer is b equals +14. Okay, on this one, I have 8 minus d. So you just want to leave the d by himself. Never a -d, only the d. But the first thing is we're going to get rid of the 8. So you're going to subtract 8. That makes it 0. Subtract 8. Let's rewrite it. Now I have -d equals a -2 and a -8 is a -10. Now, you cannot have a -d. You only want the d. So you change the sign here, and if you change it here, you need to change it here. Whatever you do to the left, you do to the right. So your final answer is d equals +10. You don't need to show the positive. Okay, in here, you want to leave the x by himself. You have a 13, so we're going to subtract 13, so that makes it 0, equals subtract 13, and now you're left with x equals -13, and -6 is -19. A negative plus a negative is a bigger negative. Okay. On number 5, I just have it opposite, but it's the same thing. You want to leave the b by himself. So if you have a -8, you're going to add 8. You add 8, and now you have a -12 plus 8. That's going to be a -4. So you have -4 equals b, or b equals -4. However it doesn't matter. Okay, so remember, a negative and a positive. Okay, you're actually subtracting. You're taking the difference, and the winner is going to be the one with the bigger sign. So your answer is going to be negative. Okay, now we're going to practice a little bit here. If you get something like this, don't panic. Okay, you still have your equal sign here. Okay, but if you look here, you could combine some of these. So that's the first thing you're going to do. So if you look at something like this, let's say, how could we combine some of them? Well, you have a whole number here of -8 and a whole number here of +2. I'm going to use another paper because, hold on, this is going to get a little messy here. So I get a -8 and a +2 is a -6. Okay, but I could also combine a b, +b, minus 2b. Remember, if it has nothing in front of it, it's like having a 1. So if you have 1b minus 2b, you're actually taking the difference, because this is a positive and this is a negative. So the difference between 1 and 2 is 1. And it's going to be negative because this one is bigger. Okay, so you could either write it like that, or you could write it like this. You don't need the 1 there. So a 1b minus 2b is -b, equals -13. Remember to bring everything down. Now, remember, my whole goal is to leave that b by himself. So I'm going to add 6. I'm going to add 6. Now, drop everything down. You eliminated this, but you can't ignore this. Drop everything down, and you say -13 plus 6 is -7. Okay, because a negative and a positive, you're taking the difference and the negative is going to win because he's the bigger sign. But remember, I can't have a negative here. You just want to leave the B. So if you change this, you change this. And your answer is B equals 7. Okay, so that's number 6. All right, number 7, same thing. Let's see if there's anything here that you can combine. And there is. The negative 2 and the positive 18. That's going to give me a positive 16. Plus x equals 7. I just dropped everything, okay? Get rid of the 16 by subtracting 16. Subtract 16, and now I'm left with x equals a 7, a positive 7 minus 16 is going to be a negative 9. Okay? And that is the way this one goes. All right, now, inequalities is exactly the same thing, so don't freak out. We did a bunch of these. Just remember, this means greater than, and you want to know what x is. So don't get all weird. Just imagine that this is an equal sign as well, okay? We're going to do exactly the same thing. So in order to leave the x by himself, I'm going to subtract 3. I'm going to subtract 3. Okay, so that's going to leave you with x. Leave this exactly the same. 7 minus 3 is 4. X is greater than 4. Okay? Now, with inequalities, you always want to know what are the possibilities for x. So if x is greater, or you can say x is bigger than 4, x could be 5, x could be 6, x could be 7. So how you're going to graph this is you're going to put the 4. You're going to find the 4. It's a positive 4. So you're going to go here. Okay, and x could be bigger than 4, so it could be any of these numbers. Now, it cannot be 4, because if not, it'll say greater than or equal to. So you're going to leave the space open. Okay, and here, this tells people x is bigger than 4. It could be 5, it could be 6, it could be 7, and so on and so on. Okay, let's do number 9. Leave this exactly like this. We're going to go plus 2, plus 2. So this is x is less than or equal to 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, so you're going to go to 10. It's going to be a closed hole because x could be less or equal to. That means equal to. So if x is less, or you can say x is smaller or equal to 10, it's going to go this way. Okay, all right, let's look at this one. Remember the, and then I'll tell you about the rules, but there's only one rule. And I went over it in class. So we're going to subtract 4, and now we're left with x is greater than negative 12, and negative 4 is negative 16. So find the negative 16. Here it is. You determine it's an open circle, and x is bigger. It's greater than negative 16, so you're going to go this way. Okay? Because if it, the negative's going this way, it's smaller, so you're going to go this way. All right. This one. Positive 8, positive 8. Okay, let's rewrite it. Negative x is less than or equal to negative 4, and positive 8 is a positive 4. But you cannot have a negative here. So if you change it here, you change it here. So now you rewrite it. X is less than or equal to negative 4. Okay, so then you go over here, you find your negative 4. You determine, is it an open circle or closed circle? It's a closed circle because it could equal negative 4. And you say it again, x is less, x is smaller than negative 4. So you're going this way. Okay? All right, that's it. The only rule that you have to, let's, number 12, I'm sorry. So positive 10, positive 10. Now you rewrite it. B is greater than negative 13, and positive 10 is negative 13. Oops. Negative 3. Find negative 3. It's going to be an open hole. B is bigger. B is greater. So it's going to go this way. Okay. The only thing that's going to change, and I didn't give you an example of that here, is if you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, then you're going to flip the sign. But we're going to do that on the next sheet. All right. So this is for addition and subtraction. On the next video, I'm going to do multiplication and division.